From the Bresco Broadband True FM podcast production studio in downtown Columbus, Bresco Broadband, faster than DSL, high-speed internet access solutions. Visit them online at brescobroadband.com. This is a True FM podcast.
Hey, it's Joel with Joel Speaks Out, and coming out, we're going to be talking with the fabulous Jeffrey Marsh. You don't want to miss it.
True FM Online.
Live, local, LGBT. Columbus's only station with LGBT music, talk, and news. Queeriosity. The Tea with B. The Gay Girls Collective. Joel Speaks Out. True FM Online, your gay anthem station.
Welcome to Joel Speaks Out, the show that looks at the banquet of life, every dish on the table, and every guest at the party.
I'm hungry.
I'm Joel Barrett, author of the upcoming book, Godly But Gay, and I'm your host. And I'll be talking with you today, like I do every time, about the matters of life that matter to the lives of GLBTQ people. And the voice that you heard in the background is that of the fabulous Jeffrey Marsh.
Interrupting. I'm Jeffrey Marsh. Yes.
This is Jeffrey Marsh and the fabulous Jeffrey Marsh. I feel like I can't just say Jeffrey Marsh. I have to have fabulous in front of it.
Oh, I don't mind it. I could legally change my name to that. I think it would be
fabulous Jeffrey Marsh.
The fabulous Jeffrey Marsh. Yeah, I think it would work.
Well, he is fabulous because he has, for one thing, not that this makes him fabulous, but this is an indication of his fabulosity, that he has over 200 million views on Vine.
Joel, get with the times. 220 million.
220 million views on Vine.
That
is like, if that doesn't make you fabulous, I don't know what does.
Well, it's interesting, right? I mean, this is social media recognition, which is a little different than I think being a TV star or a movie star. It's something I never expected to happen. It's not where I thought I was going.
It's very cool. Let me tell the audience a little bit about who this man behind the microphone is.
Please.
This person right here. Jeffrey's live, sold-out musical and speaking performances have wowed audiences at New York's Public Theater, Museum of Art and Design, Rubin Museum, and just about every other venue in Manhattan.
True.
As a student of Soto Zen Buddhism for over 15 years, Jeffrey has masterfully weaved an understanding of the mechanics of hate and the tools we have to combat it into art, which is such a beautiful statement. Taking hate and the tools we have to combat it and turning it into art. That's just awesome.
It's alchemy, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, lead into gold there.
And you have thousands of young people who have taken your message and your lessons to heart instead of harming themselves and finding empowerment in it. So, Jeffrey, welcome to Joel Speaks Out.
Thank you. I can't wait for the banquet. Or has it already started?
This is the banquet. Start feasting.
Yeah. Gladly.
You know, Jeffrey, you have such a colorful and a prolific career. And, you know, you're a rather unconventional person.
Indeed.
And that's what I love about you, because who likes conventions anyway?
Well, it's interesting you should say that. And the young people that I work with, that I interact with, that I do Vines for, have actually taught me about being unconventional. It seems a little bit like a one-way street. I produce content, I put out videos, et cetera, et cetera. It seems like, at first glance, they're learning from me, but I learn just as much, if not more, from that community on Vine.
Awesome. You're listening to Joel Speaks Out. My guest today is Jeffrey Marsh, and you're hearing us only on True FM Online. So, Jeffrey, in the remaining part of this segment, which goes so fast, tell me a little bit how you got to be who you are today.
Well, it links to what we were just talking about. So in the intro and in the interactions that we've had, Joel, it's one thing that I want to do with my work is convince people they don't need the structures, the limiting beliefs, the labels that they've had. And when I went into Vine, I was sort of thinking of myself as a very fabulous gay man, maybe. And the kids online convinced me that there can be absolutely more to life. And you can be gender queer, which is something I've been playing with. And you can actually be out of the box altogether. So if you'd like, I can say more about that. But that was my link to what you said.
We hear more and more about being gender queer. In fact, my own son considers himself gender fluid, gender queer, and he's been a guest on my show as well. So what does that mean to you when you say that?
Well, to me, rather than taking on yet another label, i.e. gender queer just, to me, is the closest we can get to not labeling.
Okay.
And that may seem like its own label, or it may seem like a cop-out or whatever. There are certain ways to think about people. I told my mom that I was different when I was 11 years old. And all I could get to come out, we were on our way home from church in our station wagon. All I could get to come out was, I think I like boys. And Mom slammed on the brakes. She turned the wheel, and the car went off the road and into a ditch.
Wow.
And she started screaming. She said, "You don't know anything about that. You can't talk about things like that. You're only 11 years old." And I got the message then to go back into the closet, to stop talking about who I was, that to talk openly and without shame about all of the aspects of who you are was perhaps the biggest sin. And it would take a few more years before I tried again.
It's amazing how those kinds of reactions and words, the impact that they can have on our young lives. I have a story kind of similar in a way where there was this point in my life when a young man who I had spent a lot of time with and actually had been sexually involved with, but nobody knew that. And he got caught being sexually involved with some boys somewhere. And I remember when my mom got this phone call about him, and I knew the nature of the call. I don't know why I knew that, but she hung up the phone and she turned around and she told me this news. And I was standing there trying to pretend like, oh, shock and awe, just like her,
All right.
And then she looked at me and she's like, "I hope he never did anything like that to you." And in that moment, everything that said to me was, she must never know.
Yeah, as if he was an aggressor or as if you wouldn't be willing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's amazing. When you tell that story, that's a really powerful story. And we're recording this on National Coming Out Day. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But, it's a great time to be talking about that coming out story because everybody's a little different. In a sense, that was kind of your first stab at coming out.
Mm-hmm. And the point to me is you will never find healing. You will never have a happy life unless you tell the truth about who you are.
And that is a beautiful message of authenticity, which I preach all the time about.
I know you do.
The best you can possibly be. And that's one of the reasons I love you so much, Jeffrey, because you live that as well. You are listening to Joel Speaks Out on True FM Online. Stay tuned. We're going to come right back with the fabulous Jeffrey Marsh and talk more about being you.
This is a True FM podcast.
Evolution Theater Company presents the best in LGBTQIA theater. Original, thought-provoking, and entertaining. Visit evolutiontheater.org.
True FM podcast production facilities presented by Bresco Broadband.
Welcome back to Joel Speaks Out. I'm Joel Barrett, and we are talking today with the fabulous Jeffrey Marsh.
Capital
Jeffrey.
T, capital F,
That's
capital
right.
J. The fabulous. Yes. Go. I didn't mean to interrupt at all. Go ahead.
Oh, you are fine. Don't even worry about it. We're having a good time today. With the day that Jeffrey and I are recording this happens to be National Coming Out Day, October 11th, 2015. And so even though this won't be aired today, it'll be aired later on, there's never a bad time to talk about coming out. So Jeffrey,
Indeed.
tell me what the term coming out means to you.
Well, coming out is telling the truth. And we don't want to force anybody into anything, right? I talk about this in my webinars, on Twitter, every place. If you are in physical danger, if your parents are going to kick you out, if your community is going to dissolve before your eyes, your support system, don't come out. Wait. But so often we keep a truth about ourselves hidden inside of us, all the way deep down, pressed all the way down, and we don't need to. Our lives improve exponentially when we tell the truth, when we come out, when we're not just honest about who we are, but excited about who we are.
That's great. I love that last phrase, not just honest, but also excited about who you are. Jeffrey, you deal with a lot of young people, and I oftentimes come
Yes, I
across...
love how you phrase that. I deal with them.
Well, okay.
No, I have the great honor to be connected with them online. How's that?
Sorry, yes. You interact with a lot of young people.
Yeah.
And I do as well, but I also tend to, I guess because of my age and where I'm at in life, maybe my experiences, I oftentimes run across and interact with a lot of people that are 40 and up. And I'm always surprised that people who are 40 something are still scared to come out.
Mm-hmm.
At that late in life. I just kind of go, well, how much longer are you going to wait? If you feel that you need to. I agree with you. I'm not saying that anybody has to come out, but I do feel like there is freedom in being excited about who you are, as you said.
Yeah, here's the deal. If you want freedom, if you want happiness, then yes, you need to come out at some point.
That's good.
I mentioned earlier, maybe it's not safe right now and you can wait or whatever, but if you want those things, come out. If you don't care so much about those things and you want the kind of, you can't see this, but I'm putting air quotes around the word safety, right? Mm-hmm. If you want that kind of safety in your life where you're not pushing the boundaries, not growing, then bless you. Enjoy yourself.
You do have a choice, but...
Right, you won't be enjoying yourself, but it's up to you. And I think that's part of the beauty of coming out. That's one of the reasons why coming out has such force in our lives, brings such happiness, is because we are the driving force. We are the ones deciding, I love myself. I love this aspect of myself, no matter what happens. If I lose friends, if I lose family, if my job changes, it's important enough to me to be comfortable, to be true.
Jeffrey, you talked a lot about.
You can tell I'm excited about this.
You are, and you talked a lot. You mentioned being yourself in there, and I want to go to that spot for a second.
I know it's such a Hallmark card thing.
But before we do that, in case I have listeners that aren't familiar with who Jeffrey Marsh is, to fully appreciate Jeffrey Marsh, you can't just listen to him. You have to also see him, because Jeffrey, you are you, unashamedly you. And that to me is what is so appealing, that when I first started watching your videos and seeing some of the clips and things, I'm like, who is this? I love this person. And I wanted to know you more. I felt drawn to you. So oftentimes in the coming out process, people say, just be yourself. But while that's good advice, unpack that a little bit for us. How do you actually do that? What does that mean? How do you be yourself?
Well, most people find be yourself to be really empty advice, because how do I know I'm not being myself? How do I know what that is? To me, and this comes all the way back to our my bio from the last segment, this is where Buddhism comes into the picture, because to me, being yourself is, in a sense, being mindful about your life. And what I would say is being conscious about your life. 100% of the suffering as far as I can tell, that's going on in people's lives, interpersonal, work, money, it could be any sort of content. But the process of, I hate my life, what am I doing? Gosh, that was stupid. All this inner dialogue we have comes from a mindless approach to life in general. And if that doesn't make sense, I can absolutely say more.
This is Joel Speaks Out, Joel Barrett. My guest today is Jeffrey Marsh, and you can hear us on True FM online. And Jeffrey, let's talk about that a little bit. Expound a little bit more on that thought of being mindful and conscious living.
Yeah, I can give you an example. So my partner and I are getting married, and it's going to happen in a few months.
Congratulations.
Thank you. He already said yes. And, and we were talking about what are we going to wear at the wedding? We want to look real good and we want to wear designer stuff. And I said, well, I think I'm going to go with the lavender eyeshadow. And I think I want Louis Vuitton heels, this particular pair that I already picked out online. And his response was, he started to tell me how he did not envision the person he was getting married to dressing that way at his wedding. And the mindless response from me could have been, how dare you? Can you picture it? Right? This is who I am. You can't, you knew this getting into, dating me and on and on and on.
Yeah, that's why I felt like I should have a sound effect of some thunder rumbling right during the pause after you said that.
Exactly. But with consciousness, with a mindful approach to the conversation, I was able to take, he's on one side of the issue, I'm on the other side of the issue, and we're fighting each other about what I'm going to wear, right? Which is sort of, he's on one side, I'm on one side, and the issues between us. And I took that and said, how can we get to the same side of the issue? So we're sitting side by side and looking together at what I'm going to wear at the wedding. And how that looked in our personal lives was, I said, I don't know what to do. What do you think? Instead of saying, yeah, I said, it's really important to me. So what do we do? And he said, the most wise thing that I have ever, in my life, I'm so lucky to have him. He said, we'll see. Not in a way that was disparaging, not in a way that put me down, but just we're on the same side of this. We both want to be happy. We both want to have the wedding of our dreams. Let's keep in touch. Let's keep communicating. We'll see. And I think that is advice for life. We'll see.
It kind of comes back to when you and I talked. I was a guest on your podcast. We talked about that.
One of my best episodes.
Oh, thank you. But we talked about that importance of not knowing, that it's okay to not know sometimes. We don't have to have all the answers right now.
Yes.
And I think that's an important place to be. We tend to want to have everything defined.
Yes, that is incredibly wise, Joel. Yes. So the mind would want me to know what I'm going to wear 5 months from now at our wedding. And that's pretty conventional, right? People want to plan something like their wedding months in advance, but this we'll see gives us both room to keep growing. And that's what I mean by a mindful approach to conversation. You have to actually be there in the conversation.
You're listening to Joel Speaks Out, only on True FM Online. I am Joel Barrett, and my guest today is
only
Jeffrey
on True
Marsh.
FM. You're not spreading your show around to a million places. This is it. You are faithful to True FM.
On the beginning of my show, Jeffrey, I have a quote from Auntie Mame. It's a
most people are starving. I know
that's
that.
Right. Yes. And I was going to say, so I love that. It's one of my
I'm sorry.
movies. That's okay. One of my favorite movies. I just love it. And I love the phrase, the quote, life's a banquet, but most poor suckers are starving to death.
Does she say suckers or does she say sons of bitches? I think.
Yeah, I think it depends on whether you're looking at the book or the movie.
It's a great quote either way.
Regardless, I want to ask you, how are you enjoying the banquet of life?
Well, you mean specifically?
Yeah. I mean, how do you go about enjoying the banquet of life?
Yeah. One of my favorite things to do is take a walk in the morning. And I think a lot of people wake up into suffering, meaning the alarm goes off or whatever, your eyes open up, and all of a sudden, boom, you're in a conversation about how work is awful, how you're having a fight with your best friend, how, you have your bills coming up, you can't pay them. You're just in this moment of, oh God, I can't get up out of bed. And what I do is feet on the floor, go put on my, walking outfit and get out the door so that the energy is in my joints, my muscles, my body, and not the energy is not in my brain. I know it sounds kind of how should we put it? Pollyanna-ish.
No, I don't think so at all.
Okay.
I was actually just kind of pondering that, and I am not a morning person at all.
Hmm.
Um, but I've been trying to establish some better morning routines for myself because I'm not a morning person. I tend to be very low key in the morning. But when you talked about activating not just your brain, not putting all that energy in your brain, that really struck a chord with me right there.
Yeah, I think just scientifically speaking, there's only enough oxygenated blood cells to go around. And if you start to move the body, it doesn't go to that mental process. That's my
So
experience of it.
I have to ask, what does your walking outfit look like?
It is pretty low key because, more and more with the Vine, I'm getting recognized on the street. And I want that time to be private and for me. So
Oh, so
it's one
I'm
of those.
envisioning a big floppy hat with giant sunglasses then.
We put that on, that goes on later in the day. This is, the ball cap and the sunglasses moment in the morning.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to talk in the next segment just about how to find out more about Jeffrey Marsh and how to connect with him.
Love.
In the meantime, let's just say you are listening to Joel Speaks Out. This is Joel Barrett, and my guest today has been the amazing Jeffrey Marsh. And we're going to wrap it up in this next segment and then tell you how you can find out more about him, look at him, hear from him, all of those things, interact with Jeffrey on Joel Speaks Out, True FM Online.
This is a True FM podcast.
Hey there, it's Andy Rajani, your current Mr. Southman from Columbus, Ohio. Exposed to HIV recently? You should know about PrEP. Check with your doctor, AHF Pharmacy, or the Columbus Health Department.
Kaleidoscope Youth Center, helping to create safe and empowering environments for LGBTQ youth through advocacy, education, and support. Learn more at kycohio.org.
True FM podcast production facilities presented by Bresco Broadband.
And we're back with Joel Speaks Out. I'm Joel Barrett, and my guest today is Jeffrey Marsh. Jeffrey,
That's
thanks
me.
again for being here.
Jeffrey speaks out too.
That's right. You speak out in a lot of different forms. So if
I
I
do.
want to hear Jeffrey Marsh, and I want my listeners to hear Jeffrey Marsh or see Jeffrey Marsh, where do we find you?
Well, first, thank you so much. I'm such a fan, and to be on is a great honor. I love you as a person.
Thank
Is that
you,
too
Jeffrey.
much to say?
Oh no, I feel the same as you. I'm looking forward to spending some time with you sometime. We're gonna have to arrange a trip to New York.
Or I can come to South Bend.
You certainly can.
If people want to connect with me, JeffreyMarsh.com, JeffreyMarsh.com, and I'm most excited about my book with Penguin Random House. It's coming in a few months. The tentative release is August 2016. The book is called How to Be You. Isn't that nice? What we've been talking about this whole
Exactly.
time.
I was just going to say it's exactly what we've been talking about. So, how to be you. I think that's going to be a big hit, Jeffrey.
I certainly hope so. It's meant to be the manual that none of us got in school about how to live a very vital, very excited, very accepting life.
It's the manual that was supposed to be in the glove box when we were born, right?
Yes, it was supposed to be somewhere, but a lot of us never found it. You can find me on Vine, vine.co/Jeffrey Marsh if you're doing the old-fashioned way, or just download the app and search Jeffrey Marsh. Find me on Twitter, Instagram. It's all at jeffreymarsh.com. That's your portal.
And your message pretty much is the same as your book, right? How to be you?
It is. And it goes a step beyond, of course. If the title could be several sentences long, it would be how to be you and how to love who that you is, how to discover who that you is, how to enjoy discovering and loving who that you is. There's a lot to say in a book.
There is. And I look forward to reading it, Jeffrey. I look forward to all of your communication. I follow you very closely and love what you're doing. More power to you. Let's keep up this good work of being ourselves.
Thank you deeply, Joel. Until next time when we meet again.
That's right. Thanks so much, Jeffrey, for being on Joel Speaks Out. You've been listening to Joel Speaks Out. You can find out more about me at truefmonline.com and at joelspeaksout.com. And you can find ways to connect with me and my guests, download theme music, the podcast. Just remember that life's a banquet. So please live.